Welcome to the United We Scan podcast, the podcast by rural carriers for rural carriers. The views expressed in this podcast are of the presenters and the presenters only and do not represent the views, opinions, or strategies of the United States Postal Service or the National Rural Letter Carriers Association. We ask that you please consult your assigned union representative for guidance in your local area. Please like this podcast, share with your fellow rural carriers, and subscribe to be notified each time a new episode is uploaded. Please leave a comment or question for us below. Thank you. Now, here are the hosts of the United We Scan podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Episode 95. Got some updates, some info, and the usual banter. It should be an interesting time tonight. James, how was your week?
Oh, don't get me started. Oh my goodness. Being a swing state here in Michigan, you're familiar with it too, Kristen. Monday,
Bill.
DPS was late. Oh, Bill, you're retired already. You don't deal with it anymore.
I'm still in a swing state, you know.
True. You know from past experience. But DPS was way late on Monday, and I ended up not getting done until almost 8 p.m., quarter to 8. The first day, and then Tuesday didn't get done until 6:30 because DPS was late again. I actually got an hour of wait time on that one. Finally, Wednesday it showed up on time, and Thursday and Friday it showed up on time, but I still didn't make evaluation any of those days. Of course, I'm still 2 hours under the evaluation my route should actually be at. But thank you, Rex, since packages seem to be the biggest contributor to route increases compared to anything else, especially coverage factor. Pretty bad week overall. Tons and tons and tons of political mail, and tons of it in my own mailbox going right into the burn pit. But we'll not get into that. Then the weekend came, and Saturday was a lazy day after all of that work. And took time to go out, do some shopping and stuff like that, and then did a lot of yard work today to get ready for Halloween and trick-or-treaters and stuff like that, make sure that all the leaves and stuff are picked up since they're already falling off the trees here. But yeah, overall it was a terrible week with political mail, but I got through it all. How was your retired week, Bill?
Mine was wonderful. I got to throw away 93% of my mail because it was all political. When I tell you I had 4 pieces of first-class mail all week, that's the God's honest truth. Friday morning was interesting. I had my Eagles lawn chair, and I sat on the grass across the street from my SDNC with the sign saying, ALC, you deserve more, vote no. And I sat there for 2 hours while the city carriers were, leaving the facility. All of them were beeping the horns and giving me the thumbs up and all that. Twice, little white Ford Focus government vehicles drove up to my spot slowly. One guy actually stopped to look at me, and I waved at him and said, "How you doing?" And then he drove off because, I'm not on your property. You can't say anything. But then, within about 15 minutes, my phone just started ringing off from the city carriers I know, and they're going, "Bill, you're such an asshole. We love you." And I said, hey guys, we're going to get the same shit contract. So, we're in the same boat, and the Titanic's going down for the second time. Other than that, I had Hudson, my grandson, Friday night, Saturday. Today we went down and saw Noah and took food down to them. So, you can eat for 3 or 4 days. It's great because even when I was working, we did that. My son Gregory is a EMT for Kaiser Permanente in Camden, New Jersey, and he is in the middle of a really bad piece of the state of New Jersey in Camden, and he's going to school to be a doctor. He just had his MCAT. He's waiting for those results. And his wife is a dispatcher for the University of Delaware. So, the kid goes to daycare and has schooling and all. But the kid is so sharp and so cute and just, and adamant. I love it. No poppy. I was like, he puts his little hands on his hips, and no poppy, and it's just like, how do you get mad at that? And then you go over and smack his ass, But it was a good week. I've been fielding calls all week, like you guys been experiencing with the political mail, and in our office they had a problem with the Amazon on Sunday. Everybody seems to have internet problems recently. So Monday we had 11 carriers out past 8 o'clock because of the amount of parcels that came in. They had to make second trips. Second trips are done after you take your mail in the first loadout, not before you start your day in the case. Asshole. Anyway, beautiful weather. It's dry though. We need rain, but the weather's turning into fall, and it's just beautiful with the colors we have out here. How about you, Kristen? How was your week?
My week, well, Monday sucked. It was an 11.5 hour day from hell. And other than that, the rest of the week wasn't too bad. I was done usually between 4 and 5. And Friday I got done at 3:30 and went to a concert. Took my daughter down to the legendary machine shop for her first time now that she's 18. So we went and did that, had a good time, and then came home yesterday. Was just a blasé day for me, even though Ruby and my boyfriend decided they wanted to have a party. But it was only two of Ruby's friends that came over, so I just kind of chilled on my own and went to bed at a decent time last night. Today I started my last Halloween decoration that needs to get put out before Thursday, so I got to get some more black spray paint for that. Other than that, my week wasn't horrible, just had days where I wanted to mumble and grumble a bit. But yeah.
Seemed to be a lot of that, this week.
Oh, I think we're going to get it all this next week, too.
Oh God.
Yep.
Yeah.
I so not miss that. I had a screenshot sent to me from one of our carriers. They had a 14-inch high stack political mail on their case when they came in the morning, and of course, none of it covered the entire route.
No.
But the 14 inches actually went around the route twice.
Yep.
They've got a little over 650 boxes.
Yep.
And you
Sounds
get
about
no
right.
credit for it. Yeah. And that's included in your 19%, right, James?
Well, you supposedly get credit when they actually register it as being a paid postage in the system, supposedly, but you don't get the coverage factor that goes along with it. That's only counted with the DPS. It's not counted with any flats or any raw mail as or
And there's
measure of me.
and there's no proof that the breadcrumbs pick it up for it either.
Nope.
Exactly. So you're basically delivering these for free.
I do appreciate the fact that some people were as obnoxious enough as the individual engaging Kristen, and we were told we had to deliver the political mail even if it was on hold.
We have not got that directive, but I have heard of where that's come down in a few places. And I'm sorry, they're on hold.
I mean, I fell off the toilet seat on that one.
I mean, you are delivering it to the spot where you hold their mail.
Yep.
That is where you are supposed to deliver it. That is where the customer has requested their mail be delivered for the time frame they have that hold.
You just can't make this shit up. You can't.
Nope. Exactly. They will get it when they resume or when they pick it up at the office.
Oh, we were now directed that we have to count our 3M mail that we bring back from our DPS.
You have to count it?
Yep, we have to count the missent, the missort, and the missequenced that we bring back with us.
At least it's on end of shift duties and you get straight time for it.
Yeah.
Right?
I'll sit there and count it all damn day. Same way they want each piece of political mail endorsed. I'll do that all day long.
Well, she let the office take a vote on this, on whether we would count it and write the numbers down on the sheet ourselves, or we'd wait for management to come around and count it. Well, needless to say, we won the vote on we count it, and we put the count sheet right on our clipboard underneath our 4240. Turn it all in at the same time. No questions asked.
Oh, I would have gone with I'll wait right at my case for management to come around and count it on end of shift duties.
Not when I gotta get the hell out of the office Friday by 3:30.
Excuses.
She was putting herself ahead of herself.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys.
Oh,
Ruby carved a
speaking of
pumpkin. She brought it down to show me. I'll
speaking of weird management directives, some offices are being told they now have to stop and check every mailbox
Mailbox.
every day until the election.
And if you read
So,
the actual directive, it says mounted routes. Make sure to check with the flag if the flag is up.
yes,
That's what the
but
actual directive says, but they're twisting it all around to check every box every day, regardless. Even those that are
so,
inactive. I had one carrier in an office south of me saying, "Well, a lot of my inactive ones that are just dead boxes are zip tied shut." She goes, "Well, then you have to untie them and check the box."
so I had a carrier actually say something really smart about this. You want me to stop at every box, right? Good. Do I get a WSS credit because I am stopping at every box? Can I put it in as a WSS since you're making me stop at each box? Because that's 100% coverage. If you're stopping at every single box, you should get a credit for it. So I think that's something that they should ask. Now, I am not saying that this is an official thing to do or anything like that, but that is something that somebody has said that, hey, I want credit for stopping at every single box. So I'm going to get the credit through the Rex input scan because I'm not getting credit through the DPS for the coverage factor. And I'm definitely not getting paid for it any which way that management wants to pay for it. So I want the credit somehow.
And if I
You
have
know,
to undo the zip tied shut mailboxes, well, I'm going to be timing every single one for 8127 time.
exactly. The time it takes to take the zip tie off, check the box, and put a zip tie back on.
Yep,
Yeah.
that could add
Well,
So,
up.
let me address Bart here about having his trays or tubs in his case. We've had that several times happen every time we change masters in our underwear in regards to having equipment at our case. And the first time that we did this, it was a unilateral grievance, class action grievance, in which we were allowed to. Now, given the micromanaging that we are under nowadays, they have people that hide mail under, in the empty tubs and in the empty trays. They don't want them there at all. So we get, when many mail surveys start, we get time walk to the area where they have trays and tubs. And if that area isn't fully stocked with empty equipment, we then put down 8127 time to roam the office to find the appropriate amount of equipment we need for our route. Filed in one.
hmm they tried that in our office and quickly found out that we were getting paid way too much of that 8127 time to go get equipment and said, okay, you guys can go put it back underneath there and we'll just check to see if there's hidden mail.
Yeah. Instead of doing a report about getting off your damn asses and checking the damn cases like you're supposed to for sleepers,
hmm
for mail that's been left behind without authorization. I mean,
Yep.
yeah,
They're
do
now
your
they're now
do,
sending all our album back to the plant every day now. They're actually taking our album, sending it back to the plant, and guess what? That album is coming back in our DPS.
you're getting
So
credit
so
for
our
it, even though
forwards,
it's a little.
so our forwards, so our markups,
Yep.
everything's coming back. It's like the plant is literally taking everything that comes into it, throwing it in the DPS machine, and calling it good.
It's been
I
going
mean,
on for years in our area.
I'm perfectly happy getting the extra DPS credit and the end of shift time to deal with all of it. But at the same time, that is a waste. That is also a failure for the customer that we're working for, especially forwards and markup mail. Those are failures. Management's failing again. What's new, right?
But they're good at it.
Yep.
I had a medical
So,
magazine from one of my customers on forward, and I wrote it in pen. I wrote forward, came back to me. I put it back into circulation again to be forwarded, but I put my little check marker on the back of it. Came back again. So this time I wrote it with a black Sharpie. Came back again. It came back 3 times. I got a magic marker, a big magic marker, and wrote forward in 3-inch letters on there. It came back to me. I took it to the supervisor and explained, why is this coming back to me? I don't know. The plant's doing it. Why don't you know why the plant's doing this? Well, we have no control over the plant. I don't give a fuck. They said, excuse me? I said, I don't give a fuck. I'm not paid to handle this day in and day out. I only get this raw mail count credit during the mini mail survey. I've handled this and I turned it over 8 times. I said, now you either make it disappear or I'll make it disappear, but I'm not handling this again. They took it, they put it in it. It came back the next day, accidentally slipped in some place that I won't mention, and I never saw it again. I mean, I feel bad for the customer, but you really want me going off on the floor? Really?
Yeah.
Because you can't do your job, yet we're expected to do it 100% every day. And when we try to do our job, you don't support us. I'm sick and tired, of the people saying, "Well, we have no control over the plant." Well, get 5 or 6 nice, big, beefy guys, go down there, straighten them out. Somebody's ass, because we're tired of it.
Well, then, and
Or
then you get some of the offices there in my district, but all our mail comes out of the other district.
or how about this? How about you get your marked up letters, A to Z, no mail receptacle, address the unknown. You get it back in your clerk mail. Your own clerks are sorting it and putting it in clerk mail.
Because they don't look at that. In fact, in my office, the clerk literally only looks at the street name. Doesn't look at the numbers, doesn't look at anything else, just looks at the street name and throws it into a slot.
I just, and I took that to a supervisor. I said, now, here's something you can deal with. Yeah, well, I'll talk to the clerk supervisor. Who is it? This guy over there. I went over to talk to the clerk supervisor. Well, I don't know who did it. It happens every day. It doesn't matter who's working. It happens every freaking day, folks. To talk to all of them. How about that?
Yep.
Have them sign an 1810 training form saying that they were instructed not to put this back into the clerk mail. No. 2 days later, it'll come in your DPS. And they wonder why, the work atmosphere is intolerable. Well, because people at the bottom of the ladder are expected to do their jobs 100% of the time. Nobody else is.
Yeah. Speaking of not caring, Renfro is going around touting the city carrier contract as the greatest thing since sliced bread in the rap sessions. How out of touch do you have to be that you have to delete all your social media accounts because you can't stand all the people calling you out for the mistake that you made in one of the worst negotiated contracts ever to come out through the Postal Service since the 1970s?
It only took you 20 months to do it.
Yeah. You spent 20 months in negotiations, supposedly, and this is the best you could come out with. Our city brothers and sisters deserve way better, and we deserve way better. But our leadership is waiting on the city side to ratify theirs first, and because they're not going to ratify it, although they have stacked the deck in their ballot counting already with a retiree out of Royal Oak, Michigan. They're talking about it's a possibility this may go as a yes, even though there are more no votes, supposedly, at least on the social media side of this. But the fact remains, this contract is a precursor. If this contract is ratified, all the other crafts are going to get the same thing. All the other crafts are going to be lowballed with the city carrier contract that this person negotiated. And they really didn't work hard at it because there are multiple posts out there, as just was posted in our chat here, showing that everything on there is almost identical to the last contract they negotiated. So he really didn't have to do any work to make this, but he had to wait 20 months to give us this for the city craft? Seriously? But we are at a precipice here. People are waiting to see what will happen. And if it doesn't go the way it is, I'm afraid that the people that can leave will leave, and the people that can't leave will be so overworked, they'll either cut corners and risk their own safety, causing problems, or they'll get so overwhelmed that they'll quit too. And then there'll be nobody left to deliver
And
but
let's
management.
and let's not
And
forget
management won't.
and let's not forget about the mass exodus of those that pull their dues.
Yeah,
Yep.
they're already pulling dues on the city side. And I'm telling people, don't pull your dues because this right here is why you don't. If the people who think and don't like this kind of a contract voted no on this contract, people actually participated and voted on this contract and said no in overwhelming numbers, it would send a message not only to the union leadership, but also postal management that we won't accept their shenanigans anymore. We need to stand up. We need to come together. Those of you who are not dues paying members right now and see this contract from the city carriers need to get in, need to start getting into this union so you can use your voice and your vote when our contract is tentatively agreed upon. The time for sitting back and not doing anything is over for the crafts. We sat back long enough. We took hit after hit after hit, not only on arbitration to the two-tier pay system, but since the 70s, since we had that one great moment where we got properly respected for one moment from management. Since then, management has been clawing back at their ability to take and take and take from each craft, pitting us against each other, pitting city against rural, rural against clerk, clerk against mail handler. Now it's time for everybody, no matter which craft you're in, to come together as one unit of workers and tell management it's time to stuff it. These losses that they're posting, 80% of it is in managerial pay. 10% of it is in grievance pay. The last 10% is in paychecks to carriers.
And let's not forget about the frivolous spending of the SNDCs and all the extra vehicles too.
A gentleman did a post in regards to how much the SD&Cs are affecting the personnel count from mail handlers, clerks, and everything else. Trying to come up with a balanced figure in regards to the Joy's calculations. And the Joy's never, explained any of this as this gentleman did. He just always said, the cost savings as far as the trucks are concerned and everything else. Well, we got a problem with that because right now in my area, we have 3 or 4 supervisors who are constantly taking late mail up to the SDNCs to deliver it. What are you going to do when the post office, that no longer has carriers and still servicing boxes and customers at the window has an express mail? Are you going to just keep turning over the money back to the sender because the express mail didn't get there on time? Are you going to change those standards of service again? The same way you've changed the standards on the certified letters? I don't understand where he thinks he's saving a shitload of money. Here's an idea. How about stop giving away free boxes to people, 10 and 20 at a time, while you're charging $5 to $7 for the same boxes in the lobby? How about charging people $10 to forward their mail? How about charging them $5 to hold the mail? I mean, there's plenty of areas where you can generate income. One of the areas is get rid of your piss poor management because you're paying these people in the 6 figures and they ain't worth. I gotta bite my tongue. I gotta bite my tongue. Bite my tongue. They're not worth the snot off the end of your nose, and that's not what I was going to say. But the fact of the matter is, they're not trained. They have no contract knowledge. They're in fear of their jobs from their postmasters. The postmasters in fear from the job from the DM. The DM's in fear for the job from the booms. I mean, this is just it's a state of fear for doing your jobs. It's real easy, folks. Get us the mail and let us get out on the route. Okay? Quit babysitting us. It's the mail. Get the parcels sorted. The scanners are down. The internet's down. We had Eddie Torrance who used to throw parcels for 100+ routes in Westchester from memory. And yet now you have these parcel sorting machines You have, the bullpen area where they're using the scanners to resort them. You still can't get it right.
Mhm.
Agreed, technology is making this job a little bit easier from some aspects.
But
The
it's
stupidity of operating it
yes.
is the downfall.
Yeah, they're clerks don't learn a scheme anymore. They rely on the freaking scanner to
No,
tell them what route it goes to. Then they're over there
Yep.
sorting freaking raw mail and they can't get it right 3/4 of the time because they're not
You're
forced to learn a scheme anymore.
I'm going to say this. We have an RCA that does some clerk work because we actually need two more clerks in my office. So he does clerk work on top of running routes on that. And he literally doesn't look at the scanner. He looks at the packages and throws them to the route because he's done every route in that office. He is much
Mhm.
faster than any of the clerks at doing it and more accurate too. And you're talking about management and the issues going on there. At this point in time, I'm going to say that from district on up, it's no longer incompetence. This is pure and simple maliciousness. It is intentional. It is by far on purpose that they are doing these things because the stuff that keeps coming across, the people that keep talking about stuff, after a few times, it's no longer a mistake. It's intentional. And we know that from the district on up, these people are manipulating, attacking, and unilaterally choosing to do these things. And it is our job now as carriers to come together against the onslaught that we are getting from management, not only for our craft, but for every craft out there. We need to come together. I know a lot of us in the rural city craft and even the clerk craft don't know any mail handlers. But I'm telling you, on my perspective alone, I stand with my brothers and sisters at the plant. I don't believe it is their fault this stuff is happening. I believe it is management from the district level and higher that is causing the plants to make all these mistakes, that is causing the issues in these plants because they are trying to control every little thing. Like you said, micromanaging. And it is district management that is micromanaging the local management. Then that makes the local management have to micromanage the people that are under them. It is intentional now. And it is time for the crafts to stand up, step up, and show them that we, as the people who make the revenue for this service, won't take it anymore.
Mr. Johnson posted up about a carrier saying, could you sort the parcels because the internet was down? I'm sorry. What does the internet have to do with the parcel sorting machine that should have its own server sorting parcels for that office? Am I missing something? Why is the internet involved in that?
Yeah,
That's the
my question.
lamest excuse that I ever heard. The internet's down.
I mean, we have scanners in our office that are not connected to the internet that can scan parcels and tell you what route they go to. How is
Exactly.
that not possible to give to somebody, a clerk or a mail handler at the SNDC, whatever, to sort these things? Use the old brick scanners. They work, and they don't have internet anymore. They killed the phone contract on them.
Yeah, because the information doesn't get gathered until it's uploaded when they hang the scanner up.
Hello.
Yeah, but so some info I've gotten to change gears here. I had a carrier reach out to me this week about their route. They were a 40K route, and the routes in their office got adjusted, which turned the aux route into a 42J. Carrier bid on the 42J, won it in September, and then the evaluation came out, and it is a 33H now. Because of when the route evaluations happened, it did not have enough data for 52 weeks to keep it at the 42J. So the carrier is upset about that and wanted to know what they can do and stuff like that. Plus, their guarantee salary was table 2, step 1, 33 hours instead of what it's supposed to be, which is 40 hours at its current step. So they were reaching out to figure out what to do. And in the process, got found out who their representative was, talked with them, and the case was escalated up, and it was passed on to Miss Bethany Small. So we're going to see what she can do in this case. But they are trying to figure it out. Um, Routes that were newly formed from the new evaluation of the route cuts are dropping hard. It's not the first one we've heard of. It's not the only one we've heard of. Routes that were cut have gone back over evaluated again. This is going to be a complex issue, but I wish that when they thought of this, they could have turned around and said, okay, if a route gets added to or deleted from, then we take that section of time that it was added from or deleted from and use that for the route evaluation temporarily until we can get full data sets on it. Because I'm sure the post office doesn't want to be overpaying carriers for more than the work they're doing. And I know carriers don't want to be underpaid for the work that they're doing. Why didn't they come up with some kind of middle ground before they went into this system full tilt?
Because they didn't test it fully to know where they needed to make those big changes. They couldn't test it on something that had every aspect showing, okay, if we cut it, what's going to happen? If we build up a new route, what's going to happen? They couldn't do all this variable in the 10, 11 frickin' years it took them to do this. They still couldn't work any of those bugs out because why? Oh, we didn't think about that.
Yep, they didn't think of parent-child routes. They didn't think of any of the other aspects of our job other than, oh, well, we're just going to do evaluations and call it good from there.
And then before, because you had your box volume factor, and you knew what your boxes were worth and everything else. And now they use it as a route average. So when they do make these cuts and add on to routes and take away from routes and move territory around, that's screwing the whole thing up because they're taking it as a total average of the entire route and not the average of that section alone.
Yep.
Well, that's because their Commodore 64 computers can't calculate that speed.
Wow, you're giving them credit for actually having Commodore 64.
I was going to say that seems like a little too up to date for them.
Well, the Abacus was, the Abacus wasn't keeping up either.
I mean, I thought it was still the old punch card machines.
Oh, now you're talking my language.
But so they are supposedly working on it at national. Whether that's actually happening or not, we have yet to see. Like we have said before, we do not know how our newly elected board members are going to be, but we are giving them the benefit of their doubt to see what happens.
I hope something positive happens.
We all do, because it's a change we definitely needed. Now we just need to see the results of that change.
We hope, but I cannot say that I am optimistic whatsoever given the leadership that we have. The top two positions are still pinned in that old boy style. And, somebody would compare Don Madsen to a unpopular German gentleman from the 30s and 40s. But, I don't have any hope that they're going to get anything better than what the city carriers have been offered. I don't.
Yeah, neither do I.
So, those of you who had your routes added to and then lost in this last evaluation, just know we understand completely what's going on. We understand the system is flawed massively, and it's going to take a year for you to see those results. It's going to take the next 2 mini mail surveys to get there. And for some people, that may be too long. For others, it's just a waiting game. But just know that we are actually in communication with our national office on this for several carriers as well. I talk with my NRO several times to try and make sure things get done, and everybody needs to, if you are affected by this, get in contact with your designated union rep. Figure out what you guys can do, because being underpaid is just as bad as not being paid at all.
Or not being paid for the hours that you actually work. versus your evaluation.
Yeah.
I mean, I left my route and it was 10 hours over the max. I didn't see a penny of that.
All right, it got quiet.
That was your cue to kick in there.
That was your cue. You had some. I thought you had something to discuss.
Did I?
I thought you did. Didn't you get something?
Well, I see in the comments where they're telling people to get involved and not to pull their dues and everything else about getting changes. And, for years, I've had, some of the biggest crybabies in my office were non-union members. And I would politely explain to them, listen, I said, I don't care what your gripe is. You're not in the union. You make no attempt to make any changes. You're not involved. Don't participate. So you don't have a voice. It's like when they send the votes out for the national contract. You don't get a vote and you don't have a voice. So, after about the fourth, fifth time, I finally won, Bill on and said, look, I don't care. Don't cry on my dick. And I don't care if it was a man or a woman or whatever gender affiliation they had, but, I don't care if you're not part of the union, not part of the solution.
Yeah. And then you get
If
the
you want
ones.
your,
You get the
if you
ones.
want your gripes heard, then join, have a voice.
And then you get the ones that gripe that are in the union, but they don't do anything. They don't go to a local. They don't vote for delegates. They don't vote for ratifications. But they just whine and complain and gripe and well, what's the union going to do about that? And this, honey, we are the union. What many people think is the union are those 9 people that sit up at the national board. They are not the union. Those are the elected representatives. The regular dues paying member is the main voice for the union. We are the union. Even if the most you do is vote, whether it's for delegates or a contract ratification, and when only 17% of over 120,000 people are making the determination of whether this contract is a go or a not a go, vote.
Sad, yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
Kristen,
it's
and being in your position, a single mom per se, I once had a lady say, "Well, I can't go to the local meeting because I got the kids and this and that and all." And I said, "Look, bring the kids there." I said, "We're providing free food, so you don't even have to make dinner. Just
yeah,
bring them. We'll coloring books and crayons in the back there. I don't care. Come and participate. Get involved." And she goes, "Well, I've never had anybody tell me that." Well, you raise all kinds of objections. I said, "I can overcome this one. So bring the kids. We'll feed them. You participate, and the kids will have fun. Dress them in their pajamas. When you get home, you can put them right to bed."
So
I
speaking of,
do want to I do want to add something now that I'm thinking about it, because remember last week I talked about how
well, Kristen, hang on.
yeah, go ahead.
Before before you get into that, I wanted to say 17% of the craft is only 20,400 people. 20,400 people decided the last contract. Out of 120,000 people, 20,400 decided the fate of this craft. And I don't know about you, but I can't stand by and let everybody just be silent on it. 20,400. If we had another 20,400 people step up and decide, imagine how that would sway a vote.
Yeah. All right. So I don't remember if it was pre-show, post-show, or maybe during the show, where I talked about an RCA in an office nearby where I grew up, who turns out to be a former boss of mine from way back, teenage, early 20 years. And I talked carrier in that office at Booster, and they gave him my number. And I hadn't talked to him in over 20 years. He called me Tuesday, and we talked for 45 minutes Tuesday. This is somebody who is coming out of 32 years in management, so he's trying to change his thinking around a little bit because he wants to make that office better. And I told him, I said, the number one thing you can do, I said, read up on your contract. Read the contract, the PO 603, and hold management responsible. I said, I know he can do that. He was a manager 32 years of his life. And he's like, all right, and I talked a little bit more. I said, if you ever get hung up on something or a question or something, right? I said, feel free, send me a text. I can send you a screenshot, tell you where to look, whatever. I said, but number one, you want to make a change for the positive in that office. I said, educate yourself on your rights and your responsibilities and hold management accountable to them and get active in the union. Go to your meetings. I said the next spring one is for the state. I told him when that was. He had a local meeting that night, so that was kind of a late notice for him because I didn't know the details. I just know they were having a local meeting that day. I said, but get involved. I said, get yourself educated and get involved. He's like, all right. He goes, yeah, thank you. I was like, wow, this is kind of a little different twist here. He goes, yeah. He goes, sometimes the teacher becomes the student, and I said, this is kind of fun for me. But yeah, I mean that really right there, you want to make a change in your office, educate yourself and hold management responsible. That's the main thing that you can do. Okay, I just wanted to share that.
Well, it's
I'm,
true. The biggest thing, you can have a steward in every single office. You can have somebody who's fighting management in every single office. But if every carrier in that office is educated, management will eventually learn that that office cannot be messed with. They'll mess with an office that has a steward. They'll mess with people that have a steward in office. But they'll try, but eventually learn it's too difficult to mess with an educated carrier. Now, as there's been studies, psychological studies done, an informed minority controls the uninformed majority. It's time for the majority to become informed.
can you imagine in the nether regions of your mind an office where everybody was educated, everybody knew the contract, the 603. They didn't have to know the whole thing, but knew, the vague uh, fringes of their rights on the floor and stood up to management every time management approached them with something that was conflicting with the contract, the ALM, or whatever. Management would be cowering in their seats every day if they had to broach a subject with a carrier. Because if one carrier didn't know something, the other one next to them might step up and say, "Hey, that's in violation of our rules. I'm sorry, that's not enforceable. Sorry, did you ask them to work tomorrow? Did you file the order of consideration?" You know, if an office like that ever existed, management would never ever breach the confidentiality of our contract, the ELM, the 603, the M38, because they would be afraid of it. Like I said, when I was a local steward, I mean, I would file a grievance. I got to the point where I filed the grievance and the settlement the same day because the postmaster knew if I'm filing a grievance, I was going to win it.
Yeah, and I
And
mean,
that,
and it's those same carriers that'll gripe and gripe and gripe, but they won't stand up for themselves, and they expect the steward to do it
Hmm.
all for them. And even then, the steward's like, "Dude, I can't. You have to initiate. You're not happy. You talk to management. You initiate it. Then I'll take it over. Until then, otherwise, quit your bitching."
Hmm.
and
We had
I,
a
I
supervisor in our
understand.
office that James.
I understand both sides of that, Kristen. I do. You know, I also know that there are some carriers that are so afraid of retaliation and living paycheck to paycheck, especially those on table two or RCAs that are on the table four, that they will talk with the steward and hope the steward can help them. And if the steward had the ability to file on contractual issues, just contractual issues, that alone could solve at least 40% of the problems in offices, if not 50%.
Yeah,
I understand that that puts more work on the stewards. I understand that puts more work on the system. But at the same time, if management starts realizing that the union is stepping up for carriers, the union is
Yep.
defending against management's mistakes and intentional infliction of emotional distress, then at that point, management's going to cut the BS in half. But because we don't stand up for our fellow brothers and sisters, and I'm talking even regular carriers, should, if they see a contractual violation occurring to another carrier, should be able to initiate a grievance for that carrier. to be able to protect their brother and sister on the floor. Because the only way that we have any semblance of an actual contract is if we enforce its parameters. A contract that is not enforced is no contract.
I have to do agree with you on that a little bit, James. But when this is carriers that have been around for, well, they're table one
Years.
carriers. Yes.
Yeah.
That just,
And I have them in my office, Kristen. Same way.
yeah. I
You're
mean,
going to have them in every office. You're going to have them everywhere.
Yeah.
Because we're 120,000 people. You can't expect 120,000 people to think exactly the same way or act the exact same way.
Oh, and you don't have 120,000 that have the backbone to stand up for themselves either. You know, I've got a 30-year carrier that I don't think he had but 3 grievances, of which I handled 2. The 30 years that he's had, because he's afraid, oh, they'll just come after me. Or, and this gentleman had a little arrangement with the supervisor, where he would work every drop day and then get an next day in the middle of the week at his own convenience. Well, when they stopped doing the overtime and he didn't get his drop day to work, he was crying and pissing and moaning about it. I said, well, you didn't cry and piss and moan about it when you worked the rules to your advantage, did you? No. And I said, you didn't cry and piss and moan about it when you're not paying dues and you're not involved in the union. Yeah, no. I said, so in your 30 years, guess what? You learn to work the system to your advantage. Now it's gone, and now you want to cry about it. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. I can have empathy towards people to a certain extent. After a certain point, guess what? You're on your own because you didn't bother to participate when it affected other people. You did was cry when it affected you. Okay, so now that it has a direct effect on you, you have a complaint, but you have no foundation for your crying.
I will
If they
say,
have a stub available to run your route, and they're entitled to run your route.
I did have an instance Friday. There was a stand up talk happening about the 3M mail that I mentioned pre show. And the postmaster also mentioned the red line. And then she saw me walking closer to her out of my case, and the look on my face, she got that look of terror on hers, and she looked over at the steward, who turned around, looked at her, shrugged his shoulders, and I waited until she was done talking. And then I asked a couple questions just to get verification before I decided if I was going to file a grievance or not. There was no grievance to file, but I was already locked and loaded. All she did is see me step out of that case and walk closer up to the center of the room where she was at, and the look of terror came across her face. Because that's what you got to do.
Every
Nice having
carrier,
that power.
yeah, every carrier has that ability. Every carrier has the chance to get management to back off of the stupid, I'm not even going to say that word, the dumb things that come out of districts' mouth. Because 99% of the things management is telling you to do was not in an email. It was told to them over a telecon so that the district manager has immunity from the grievance that comes. Because your manager will fall on a sword for the district manager, but the district manager will throw their ass under the bus faster than you can even blink.
And then back up just to make sure they got you.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, when you could, just the way I stepped out of the case and walked towards the center of the room, as soon as she said the red line policy, I was like, oh, here we go. I'm waiting on this one. I let her finish, and I made clarification that would be allowed to go back to our case when we returned. And yeah, I didn't have a grievance. I was like, darn, I was locked and loaded too.
You know what's really egregious is that all my years, I probably had 3 good supervisors on the rural side, and all 3 of them left because they didn't like working under the pressure from above. But every piece of shit supervisor I've ever had who follows, bends the knee, kisses the ring, and everything else of those above them, they've made lifelong careers out of the post office.
Ones with the skinned up knee pads.
You said it, not me.
Oh, Yeah,
Really,
it's
really soft lips too.
no, I mean, honestly, guys, educating yourself. I mean, everything is right there at your fingertips for the most part. Yeah, you may have to search and dig on the website a little bit. Lord knows it's not the best user friendly at times, but it is all right there available. And educating yourself and educating your casemate or, that new RCA coming into the office and standing up for yourself can make the biggest difference in holding management responsible as well. 'Cause if you don't hold them responsible, they're going to run right over you completely every single chance they get. The longer you let them do it, the worse it's going to get. Anything else, gentlemen?
That's all I had. Bill, you have anything you want to add? I think Bill went into his retirement nap.
I don't hear him snoring quite yet.
True.
Oh, I did want to bring up one more thing. This was kind of brought up to me a little bit earlier during a conversation. And RCAs, if you're not happy in an office, you can transfer. RCA transfers are so you can transfer. You can find an office that's going to treat you better and treat you with a little bit more respect and not be degrading and nasty to you. If you find another office, even if it's just because you get sent to another office to help or you volunteer and you like that office better, you could always put in for a transfer if it's a better fit for you. I would rather see RCAs transfer to an office that's a better fit for them than to see them quit and leave. Am I right, guys?
Yeah. I mean, if you're a regular carrier and you want to transfer out, you can look for district bids, or you can also do a mutual transfer with somebody. That's another way you could do that. You could actually, there are people who move just from one district to another on a mutual transfer because somebody in the other district wants to move to their district.
Yeah.
So,
And also, I mean, if another route, if you're struggling on the route you're on, your primary, because it's one of those just bad routes, or the regular doesn't keep the case up properly, or there's a lot of different factors why routes aren't good fits for certain people. I've had routes that I never was able to lasso in. I mean, I had a route in my old office. It didn't matter what day it was that I went out on that route. I wasn't getting back between it was 10 and 12 hours before I was getting back. That me and that route just did not get along. But if there's another route that comes vacant with an RCA, now technically, according to Article 30, they are supposed to offer it by seniority. When a leave replacement becomes open, they don't always do that. Put it in writing if you want to switch to another route that's a better fit for you. If they fail to offer that by seniority down the chain when it comes vacant, that's an Article 30 violation. I mean, I'd reach out to your designated union rep on that. But there's
yeah.
other ways, Don't feel like you're locked into a bad office. I mean, or you're on a sucky route for one thing or another. I mean, there are options. Make it better for RCAs like that.
And just as somebody pointed out in the chat, an RCA has to have completed probation before transferring.
Yes,
But an RCA can also just apply to an office and then quit at the office that they're at to go work at the other office. That's another way you can do it.
there is, and
But
there
you,
have been some instances where a transfer has gone through prior to the probationary period being over. You don't necessarily have to be in the office one full year. You just have to, for sure, have your 90 work days in to be out of probation. So
looks like Bill's having technical difficulties.
I see that.
But yeah, and there are lots of mutual transfer groups on Facebook for those who may be interested in transferring offices or districts or different states. Um, Either way, any transfer, you become the least senior person in that office.
Now, in an RCA instance, yes. So if you do a mutual transfer as a regular, all the routes in the office go up for bid, and you get what's left, basically. It's not a route-to-route transfer. You can also find mutual transfer requests in the back of the RLC magazine as well. But mutual transfers are definitely harder to come by. As an RCA, when you transfer, as I have experience in this as an RCA, you fall to the bottom of the office seniority list. You still have your service time. Now, if you are an RCA who transfers and you have more than 12 months in as an RCA, therefore you are eligible to bid on a route and you transfer into an office that has, let's say, two or three other RCAs, but they have less than 12 months in, this is where you get to leapfrog over them. Otherwise, you are below them seniority wise.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, keep that in mind too. So, there's always, like I said, there's
And
opportunities out there.
and as a regular carrier, you transfer at the step you're at. You don't lose your pay. You stay at the step you're at if you transfer.
Can you hear me now, James?
Can hear you now, Bill.
Okay.
Saw you had technical difficulties.
Yeah, for some reason it just went mute. It's like I thought I was talking to my wife for a minute. Anyway, no, my wife's never
Yeah,
been mute. And
good.
she went to bed already. Ah, things you can say safely.
Oh boy. Yeah, you gotta say those things at a safe distance away.
Oh hell yeah! Hey, I'm the man of the house as long as she says so.
And I guarantee you, if some object is nearby and she heard you saying that, she'd hit you square between the eyes, wouldn't she?
No, she usually goes for the back of the head.
Oh, okay.
That she likes the sound the metal plate makes.
And I'm sure with all the years of living with you, she's gotten very accurate at that throwing.
Oh, let me tell you, for one practical joke, you put an electromagnet on the other side of the closet door. It's stuck there for 2 days.
All right, we good, guys?
I'm good. How about
I'm
you,
good.
Bill? You good?
I'm, I'm wonderful. I'm thinking about my list of things not to do tomorrow, and I've got 5 items on there already.
All right, make sure you do them this time, or you'll be mad at yourself for not doing your not to do list.
Well, the first thing I not do is set the alarm clock.
Lucky.
Yes, yes, yes. I am very blessed. Second thing I get up to do is decide what I'm not going to do when I get up to do my not to do list. Understand that.
All right, guys. James, final
Oh,
commentary for this evening.
We go over a lot of things on this podcast. We talk about a lot of issues, a lot of problems going on. We're here because we love what we do. We love our customers. We love what our tasks uh, entail us to do. But we're not going to sit idly by and just let management walk all over us, and you shouldn't either. You shouldn't let them walk over your brother and sister. Take care of your fellow carriers. Take care of your city brothers and sisters. Help them understand what this contract means, not only for the city craft, but for every single craft in the Postal Service. I know there's some out there that won't care what happens, and there are a lot of NBAs and regional people for the city craft that are going to vote yes just to hold their position underneath Renfro. But it's up to us as rural carriers to help educate our city brothers and sisters on what this lack of a good contract means for the postal service, for the rural craft, for the clerk craft, mail handlers, and the city craft. It's time for us all to stand up together and show management we're all in this together. Bill?
well, it's funny how in retirement I'm more active in the social media and the questions and everything that I'm getting, and I still enjoy it. I still enjoy helping people. It's actually refreshing to have the time to do it. That's part of my not to do list is not to put off helping people because of the fact that I have the time and the resources to do so, and it gives me a great deal of satisfaction. I still am missing my customers and my dogs and kids and all. But the fact of the matter is that I'm getting calls in my office, on a regular daily basis from a number of carriers, and I still help them out because no matter what, I'll be a rural carrier at heart. And if I can help anybody advance themselves, protect themselves, or do better for themselves, that's my calling. I'm like the rabbi of rural carriers. Shalom, here to help you. But the fact of the matter is that James is right. If we don't all stand together and protest this grotesque contract that was offered to the city carriers, they're just going to pass it down the line, and it's going to be accepted. But the fact of the matter that a president of a union, national union representing 200,000 people, didn't even consult with his own board on offering this as a tentative agreement smacks of the disdain he has for the people he represents. And I pray that, Don doesn't have that disdain. I'm not hopeful, but I pray. I mean, folks, we do deserve better. It's been 6 years now since all the Amazon has hit us smack in the face, broken our backs and our hips and everything else. And the fact of the matter that they had 12 years to get Rex correct before they implemented, and there are holes in it left and right. And the fact that management never trained people, management never got trained properly. And they still, like the comments earlier was, people believe what management tells them, yet they ask you to put it in writing and you differ from them. How can you accept management's word? Challenge them on everything because of the fact that management is so uninformed, uneducated, and ignorant in regards to the contract, the M38, the 0603, the ELM. They have little to no idea except for what the people above them tell them, and they believe it. Just because they believe it doesn't mean you should. Challenge it. Stand up for the people next to you. Stand up for yourself. Get involved. And I'm talking about getting involved on the floor, at your local meetings, at your boosters, state convention and national convention. Quit letting the minority dictate your future. If you want a better future, you have to get involved. Tomorrow's the start of another work day. Everybody go out, do your job professionally, efficiently, and safely, and make sure you make that last delivery, which is the most important delivery of the day. Go home to your loved ones. Peace out.
Thank you, guys. All valid points, yes. Educating yourself, standing up for yourself, standing up for your neighbors, your coworkers, your friends, your family, and vote. That's when it becomes our turn to ratify a contract. Now take your time and read over that tentative agreement when we receive it. I'm not saying I don't know when we're going to receive it, but when we do, take your time and read it. Take everything, the whole picture in, and then vote how you want to see that contract go. It's a simple, literally, probably takes more time to open the envelopes that it's in than it does to actually vote. You put it in, you take it out, you mark whether you want yes or no, you fold her up, you put her in the secret ballot envelope, you put it in the return envelope, you make sure you have your return address on there, throw a stamp on it, and toss it in the mail system. That's simple. Even when it comes for national delegates, start learning who people are. And even if that means going to a state booster or a regional conference or a local meeting and asking others there who these people are, and vote. Take that time to vote. That is probably one of the easiest ways to be involved. It's just simply filling out those ballots and returning them. So on that note, guys, stay safe out there this week. I know we're still got a little over a week to go of political season for those of us that are getting slammed with it. And don't forget, time change for those that are do it is next weekend. Daylight savings time goes bye-bye. Falls back an hour. Yay, not thrilled. But on that note, guys, stay safe out there this week. Take care, and we will be back next week.
Howdy doody time, howdy doody time.